Hello everyone. Today we will do the subject history of grade 6 and our chapter number 2 is sources of history. What is the meaning of sources? Sources means a person, place or thing which we can obtain their information. So sources of history is the first point. Let us see a number of objects used by our ancestors. Ancestors means who lived a long life before you. In Hindi we can say पूर्वज, हमारे पुराने लोग. So ancestor means the person who lived a very long life before us. And some inscriptions. The meaning of inscription is words that are written. Means whatever you are writing, your writing skill is known as inscription. So in sources of history, ancestors and inscription, these both things are very important to understand. To gain the knowledge about history or past history, we have to understand the ancestors, because our ancestors only give us knowledge, give us information about past history, because we was not there at that time. So our ancestors give us information about past history. And inscription, in written part we accept the written part that it is true. If the written part is good, if the written part is correct, so we'll say that it is true story because it is in written form. Next, the customs and tradition, folk arts and folk literature and historical document help us to understand history. For understanding history, for understanding the past time, past event, first of all we have to understand the customs and tradition. Means what culture they used. Folk means common, general. Folk arts and folk literature. Folk arts means the drawings, the pictures, and folk literature means the written part in olden times. And historical documents. Historical documents mean the document in past history what they used for us. So for understanding this history, we have to first understand this all. Understood? Now look at this image. This image is of sources of history. We have three types of sources. First is material source, second is written source, and the third one is oral source. Look at this image. Sources of modern India. This is material source. Here we can easily see the materials like royal seals, monuments, statues, which comes under materials. Already we see the image of material source. Now let us discuss the points about material source. The artifacts, articles, monuments and their remains are called material source. Artifacts means object made by person. Any object, anything which is made by any person, it is known as artifacts. Articles is also comes under material. Next is monuments. Monuments means that a famous person or any building or any statue. For example, Taj Mahal is also comes under monument. So these things which we use to understand history as a material source. Artifact used for past information. Why we are using artifacts? Artifact is used for gaining information about past. Means in past time, in King Rule's time, I was not take a birth. I was not there. But by seeing their monuments, by seeing their images, by seeing their artifact, I can easily understand what was happened in past. By studying the shape, color and design of the earthen pots. Nowadays or now we are not using any kind of earthen pots. But in past history, in past time if we will see, so they used earthen pots and they made their earthen pots by different type of shape, different type of color and different type of design also. The ornaments and other artifacts throw light on social life. Ornaments means jewelry. See, in past time, the king and the queen, they both wears ornaments. Why they are wearing ornaments? Because they show that we are rich. And they use their ornaments. Their ornaments are very different from us. Nowadays we are using ornaments. We are wearing jewelry. But it is very decent. It is very simple and all. But in historical period or in ancient time or in past history, if we can see, the ornaments are very different, and that ornaments throw light in our social life. Means that ornaments, that artifacts shows our relation between ornaments, artifacts and society also. According to their society, according to their social life, they used to wear their ornaments and artifacts. Next is, we get information about the diet of the people from the remains of food grains, seeds and bones of animals found in excavation. See, we also get information about diet. Diet means what they used to eat. In ancient times, they don't have any McDonald's or any Domino's pizza burger, but they wants to be alive. For alive, they wants to eat something. They take a proper diet. So their diet was food grains, seeds and bones of animals. Means what they eat? They eat the food grains, seeds or animals' bones. Excavation means the action of excavating something, especially an archaeological site. Means archaeology is a study of very old materials study. Means if I want to get any information about that how many years of this ornaments have completed, so this all comes under archaeological study. So excavation means to study about archaeological site. See, houses and buildings, coins and seal. Houses and building in past history time, how they build their houses, how they build their buildings, what coins they are using, what kind of seal. Seal means stamp. Because the rules of king, so according to their king rules, they use their particular royal seal also. They have their particular coins of gold or copper, and they use their particular seals also. Information about human activities. By understanding these all points, we can easily get information about their activities in past time, what activity they have done and how they live their life. Now the next source is oral sources. Oral sources means whatever we are saying from the mouth. By using verbal means oral. By using verbally, this is known as oral sources. So this comes under oral sources, that is ovies, folk songs, folk tales and similar literature are passed on generation to generation by word of mouth. Means in past time, we don't have any kind of mobile or telephone. So what we are doing, we used to folk songs or ovies. Ovies is a kind of a song, and folk tales. Folk tales means olden story. So this all we are listening by generation to generation. Means my grandmother, she knows her grandmother. So her grandmother told her a story about a particular historic event, and my grandmother passed that story to me. So these oral sources help us to communicate from generation to generation the same story or the particular event. Next, the author of this unwritten literature is unknown. See, why it is unwritten? Because it is an oral source, so we should not write anything. We have to say from mouth only. We have to use only oral. So it is unwritten. And this unwritten story, who told? We don't know. Unwritten story is told by unknown person. I don't know that who said this story because I was not there. I just listened that story and I understand about the historical period. Next is literature preserved by oral tradition is the oral source of history. Literature, the written part which we can conserve or which we can preserve or which we can save by oral or by orally, it is known as oral of history. It is known as oral source of history. See, this is the image of oral source. How they discuss something about historical part in orally. See, this is next picture. Here we can easily say an old man is telling story about any historical event to the children. They also use particular poem or poetry or any ovies or folk tales in orally or in particular occasion or festivals. Next is written source. Written source means whatever happened in historical time or any event, it should be in writing form. It should be writing form. See this, used paintings on rocks for expressed emotion. Means that Stone Age people, they use paintings for expressing their feelings, for expressing their emotion. They use paintings on rock. In olden time, if you will see any Raj Mahal or any palace, they use statues, and that statues indicates the story about particular event. Next, later use symbols and sign. After develop, they use symbols and sign for expressing their feelings. Next, wrote potsherds, unbaked bricks by using pointed objects, burjapatra, bark of birch tree. Potsherds. What is the meaning of potsherd? Potsherd means a broken piece of ceramic material. Means a material which is made by ceramic. Ceramic is a kind of a cement. So, ceramic materials they used to make potsherds, and unbaked bricks. Bricks means the stone which we use for making our house. That unbaked bricks or burjapatra, it is means bark of birch tree. Bark of birch tree, a pointed part of any wood, and birch tree wood, a pointed part of birch tree wood. They, because at that time no pen, no pencil was there, so they use pointed thing to write anything. Next, increase knowledge and experience. Day by day, because of these sources, they increase their knowledge. Their experience also increase. Royal court were recorded. After written source was came, and afterwards they make a record of each and everything. In royal court, if anything was happened, they make a particular record of that event. The edicts and decrees. Edicts means an official order given by somebody, and decrees mean an official order by a government. Means any government or any powerful man, they give any order to fulfill this. It is known as edict and decrees. And deeds of king. Deeds means work of kings were inscribed on stone or copper plate. Whatever the work, whatever the order they get, they write, they make their record in a particular copper plate or any stone. Means they make a record in stone or any copper plates, because at that time there was no paper. So they use copper plates and stones for making a record. These are some points of written sources. See this image. In this image we can easily see that writing part, how they write in stone. This is another image of writing source. This is also a part of written source by the using of burjapatra, that is a birch of tree. They used to write like this. Sources of ancient Indian history. Now the information about ancient Indian history, that is extends from Stone Age man to 18th century CE. This event is happened on 18th century CE. CE means Christ era. Information about the ancient period 1500 BCE means the information about the period of 1500 BCE. BCE means before Christ era. Now see this sources of ancient Indian history. What are the sources? So already we have discussed that we have three sources: material sources, written sources and oral sources. In material sources we have two subpoints, that is artifacts and structural remains. Artifacts means made by any person. So in artifacts we have rock paintings, pottery, terracotta objects, beads, ornaments, sculptures, metal objects, coins and weapons. Next is structural remains, the thing which cannot change. Caves, houses, stupas, rock cut caves, temples, churches, mosques, pillars. This all comes under material source. Next is written source. In written source we have inscriptions on Harappan seals, Vedic literature, Mesopotamian clay tablets, manuscript copies of Mahabharata and Ramayana, Jain and Buddhist literature, writings of Greek historians, travelogues by Chinese travelers, books on grammar, Puranas and inscriptions. Now third is oral sources, that is the Vedic, Buddhist and Jain literature of ancient India was preserved by oral tradition. It is now available in the written form. Even so, the oral tradition is still alive. When oral compositions are used for history writing, they are included in the oral sources. So these are the sources of Indian history. Last is precautions to be taken while writing history. What is the precaution we have to take while writing history? Because history is a subject which is already arranged in chronological form. We cannot change any date, any year, any event according to us. How they have submitted, how they have done, same like that we have to pass it. So the first is critical examination of written document. Critical examination means if any document or any topic you are selected for investigation or for information, so you have to go very deeply. You have to be very careful while examining about any particular event. It should not be wrong. A single word should not be mistake or wrong. So you have to be very careful while analyzing. Next, cross-checking of conclusion from various sources. Cross-checking. If you have any information, so you have to verify this information. Okay, it is right or wrong. So before becoming any result or before any conclusion, you have to check that information very carefully or verify from other also that this source or this information is correct or not. So for any sources, you have to be very careful and cross-verify it